Discussing all tonight's topics, my brilliant panel joining me tonight are the comedians Francine Lewis, Ellie Probert and Justin Panks. But first, let's get your latest news headlines from Sam Francis.
Leo, thank you very much, and good evening from the newsroom. It's just after 8 o'clock. The top story tonight, Sadiq Khan has said that it's time for the Prime Minister to call a general election after he won the London election for a historic third term. This, though, was the moment that he was heckled and booed as he started his acceptance speech.
Thank you, London. Go and kill London! Go and kill London!
Well, he beat his nearest rival Conservative candidate Susan Hall in a contest full of criticism over Mr Khan's decision to expand the new capital's ultra-low emission zone. However, Mr Khan has insisted he is keeping positive.
It's Londoners who inspire me every day to continue our mission of building a fairer, safer and greener London. And in what I hope will be a year of great change. A future Labour government led by Keir Starmer working with us in City Hall will mean we can go much further and accomplish so much more.
Labour's also celebrating successes in Liverpool, in South Yorkshire and in West Yorkshire. And in Greater Manchester, Andy Burnham was re-elected earlier. He there picked up just over 63% of the vote and said he'll always give his best to the job.
I'm overwhelmed. To have so many people prepared to put their trust in me is overwhelming, it's humbling, and I recognise that people who vote for other parties at a general election have lent me their support, and it's why I will be very, very rigid in taking a place first rather than a party first approach. It seems to me that's what the role of the mayor is all about, bringing people together, you know, get everybody pulling in the same direction for a great city region like this one, and that's what I will be doing.
Well, let's take a quick look at the results in those local elections across England and the numbers as they stand at 8 o'clock tonight. Labour now gaining control of 8 councils with a total of now 50. The Liberal Democrats, meanwhile, have won more council seats overall than the Conservatives. And results in the West Midlands, where a recount is currently underway, are at this stage showing a significant fall in the lead for the Conservative candidate Andy Street. In other news tonight, the family of Daniel Angerin say they are devastated after he was killed on his way to school in London on Tuesday. The 14-year-old, who's been described as loving and precious, was attacked by a man with a samurai sword in Hainault. 4 other people, including 2 police officers, were also injured. Marcos Monzo, a Spanish-Brazilian dual national, was charged with murdering the teenager. He appeared in court on Thursday. More than 20 dogs have been seized after police raided a suspected illegal XL bully breeding farm in Sheffield. 16 of the animals are being looked after in police kennels after they were discovered in what officers described as appalling conditions. Sadly, those 6 other dogs were so unwell when they were found they did have to be put to sleep. The breed was added to a banned list in October last year following a series of attacks. However, campaigners have argued that the ban is unlawful and they've called it irrational. And finally, tens of thousands of homes in East Sussex are still without water tonight until at least tomorrow. That's after a pipe burst. Southern Water say that the disruption in St Leonards-on-Sea and in Hastings started on Thursday. The firm, though, have said they are working tirelessly to get supplies back to properties. Residents, though, say it has been disastrous and schools, a leisure centre and a theatre in the area have been forced to close. Those are the headlines. I'll be back at 9 with another update. Until then, you can sign up to GB News Alerts by scanning the QR code on your screen or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you, Sam, and welcome to the Saturday Night Showdown. Now, the local election results are coming in, and boy, are they fun! This is Mothin Ali, the new Green Party councillor for Gipton and Hare Hills, celebrating his win by waving the Palestinian flag and chanting Allah Akbar, which, as he's a Green Party politician, I assume means please recycle responsibly.
Raise the voice of Palestine! Allahu Akbar!
Blimey, Green Party politicians have changed a bit, haven't they? I wonder which carbon he wants to reduce first. In fairness to him, he might have wanted to wave the British flag, but he probably didn't want to get called racist or be beaten up by cops. Much safer to wave the only acceptable flag in Britain, a Palestinian flag. This is playing out across the country. While Keir Starmer's Labour Party has taken many Conservative seats, his support for Israel has cost him votes in Muslim areas. In Blackburn with Darwin, Labour's vote share collapsed by 35% in Muslim areas, though Labour did retain control of the council. In the Bastwell and Daisyfield ward, where more than 8 out of 10 residents are Muslim, Labour's support fell from 85% to 39%, and they lost the seat. Many Muslims are turning instead to the far-left Green Party, who I thought stood for environmental issues and were socially liberal, but have now allied themselves with Islamists. It seems like a bizarre alliance. After all, Islam hasn't always been the best friend of the LGBTQ community. In fact, in Gaza, whose flag Mr. Ali flies, gays are thrown from buildings. Now, I'm not going to criticise that because I don't want to be accused of being culturally intolerant or Islamophobic. I just think it's a strange ideology for the Green Party to align with. But it's not the first time the far left and Islam have joined forces. In the 1970s, in Iran under the Shah, socialists marched shoulder to shoulder with Islamists, lending their support to the Islamic Revolution. A few decades on, and Iran doesn't seem to have become the progressive paradise of equality and tolerance those socialists dreamed of. And with the demographics of Britain changing, we're going to see Islamism having more of an influence. And we're also going to see more alliances between the left and Islam. We can already see how that might play out. In 2015, woke progressives helped the first ever Muslim council get elected in the United States in the city of Hamtramck in Michigan. The Muslim council immediately turned round and banned pride flags. Much liberal screeching ensued.
I relocated from California to Hamtramck. That's really far away, and I did it because I thought it was a diverse community.
The Guardian reported on how that made progressives feel. They viewed the power shift and diversity as a symbolic but meaningful rebuke of the Islamophobic rhetoric that was a central theme of the then Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump's campaign. This week, many of those same residents watched in dismay as a now fully Muslim and socially conservative council passed legislation banning pride flags from being flown on city property that had, like many others being flown around the country, been intended to celebrate the LGBTQ+ community. Muslim residents packing City Hall erupted in cheers after the council's unanimous vote, and on Hamtramck's social media pages, the taunting has been relentless. Word I can't say. City, read one post, emphasised with emojis of a bicep flexing. In a tense monologue before the vote, council member Mohammed Hassan shouted his justification at LGBTQ+ supporters. He said, "I'm working for the people, what the majority of the people like." So, the Muslim politicians allied with the progressives to get into power. Then once they were in power, they passed laws according to their homophobic ideology. If only there had been some evidence of homophobic laws in the Muslim world to tip off the progressives that this might happen. Still, at least you showed Trump, guys. I mean, you showed Trump that he's absolutely right. People emigrate to the West because they want the prosperity, stability and personal freedom that a liberal society provides, and which isn't available under the corrupt, intolerant, poverty-stricken hellhole that arises from medieval cultures that stifle freedom. But people don't become imbued with Western values when they step onto British soil. Their culture doesn't evaporate on the ride to the West. Sometimes it gets stronger as people cling to their identity in a foreign culture. But there are upsides as well. In America, Muslims have allied with conservatives to get sexualised books out of schools. A lot of positive attributes are echoed in conservative and Muslim cultures. Respect, family, working hard to better yourself. And the best thing is, progressives are scared of criticising Muslims in case other progressives call them racist. So all I can say is, diversity is strength, and pass me the popcorn. I'm going to sit back and enjoy watching how this bizarre alliance between the far left of the Green Party and Islam plays out. I'm joined tonight by three brilliant comedians. We've got Francine Lewis, Elle Probert and Justin Panks. Now, Justin, why do you think local elections in England are being decided by a war in the Middle East?
Well, it's like anything. If you import vast swathes of people from a region, then they're going to just vote how they want. You can't stop that. They are part of the democracy.
Yeah, that is how democracy works.
Yeah.
Everybody's got the same. Everybody's vote carries the same weight. But are you surprised to see this alliance between, you know, the Green Party, who I would have thought, you know, there's a lot of stuff in Islam that, you know, particularly, you know, extremist Islam, that doesn't really align with the cuddly, you know, let's all be pals and let's all knit our own hemp curtains attitude of the Greens.
There's a lot of really bizarre crossovers at the moment. So you've got the Queers for Palestine,
Yeah.
which, you know, no one thought they were going to be like a supergroup that was going to get mushed together.
Yeah.
And now you've got the Green Party in Palestine at the same time. And like, I get it, right? If you want to be pro-Palestine, that's fine. If you want to be pro-LGBT, cool. You know, you be the Green Party, support everything that you want to recycle. But the supergroups is what I think a lot of people are confused by at the moment.
Yeah.
So you go, right, well, I want to support this, but I don't really necessarily agree with that. So when it comes with, you know, the progressive woke, I think they just want to support absolutely everything that they possibly can, unaware that they don't always necessarily align together.
And do you think they want to support it because they've seen people on the right or people on the far right criticising Islam, so they want to be like, oh, we're the opposite of those guys, so we love it.
It's all fashion, isn't it? Like, it's literally people are just saying, right, well, people are waving the Palestinian flag, so I'm going to do that now. You know, it's literally, you know, like how punk was a fashion back in the day. We've now got Palestinian as a fashion. And I don't think a lot of people necessarily know what it actually means. They're just following the trend.
It's kind of that thing, you know, that old adage, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like they'll get into bed with anyone, but it's like you align, like say, you're not only they don't align, they're polar opposite, diametrically opposed.
Yeah.
And it's like you're going to use these, you know, you sort of like say, oh, we're going to, well, we can, you know, they might throw gays off buildings and stuff like that, but once they vote Tory? Oh, no, they've got to, that's beyond the pale. We didn't know that. We can't accept that. It's like that's the thing that they've like drawn the line at.
Yeah. But what interests me is that the far left LGBT community are flying the flags for Palestinians, but I mean, in reality, they won't last 5 minutes without being hung. Do you know what I mean? And
Maybe they're colourblind. It's a similar flag.
yeah, maybe.
What's got that little wedge?
Colourful, it's nice.
I mean, the only Middle Eastern country that really supports, I mean, they have the biggest pride annually is Israel.
Yeah.
You know, that's why I think, is this a trend? I mean, clearly they have no knowledge of what they're talking about. I really do think this is a trend. And I think they need to wake up and smell the coffee. Honestly, that's my opinion.
I mean, I should have probably said at the start of the show that you're an impressionist. Yeah. You're not suddenly having a stroke.
Yeah, I wasn't suddenly just, you know, going into these weird voices, but I will do as the night progresses. As you know, I just become all sorts of people. Yes, it's Vanessa Feltz here. I'm just loving the show. I'm loving you all. I'm going to have a great time.
You didn't need the rest of us here. You just need one.
Go home.
If she can do your voices, then yeah, we genuinely don't.
There you go. Jump around seats, do voices. She's got it covered.
But you all.
4 for the price of 1.
Except for you, I cannot do your accent.
You can't do the Scottish accent.
I can't do the. I can only do it in man Scots. I cannot do a woman talking.
You know he is a male Scot.
I don't know why.
That didn't sound, I mean, I've heard Scottish people sound like that. That's me after a bottle of Buckfast. That's not too bad. Yeah. But what's interesting about this, the Muslim voters leaving Labour is according to, I think it was Andrew Neither, part of the reason Labour opened the borders and Tony Blair had, introduced mass immigration was to tilt the electoral scales in the favour of the left. I think the phrase used was to rub the right's nose in it, and it's kind of backfired because now a lot of people who come in are actually socially conservative, so would be more aligned with the Conservatives.
Apparently, the exact same things happened in America. A lot of these people that cross the border are from very conservative cultures.
Yeah.
You get people that come up there from places like Cuba and that, they absolutely hate the left, absolutely hate the left. They come from
if you've lived under communism, you're going to hate it the most.
Yeah. So it all backfires. It's all. I don't know. I don't understand it. You look at it and you think they're not stupid. There must be something else. I don't understand why they're why they're doing what they're doing. I don't understand what the end game is.
Yeah, I think politicians might be stupid. I think.
Oh, yeah. But never met one.
Do you think Keir can win back the Muslim votes? I mean, obviously, you know, Jeremy Corbyn was incredibly popular with that bloc. Can't imagine why. And yeah, Keir isn't as popular.
He's put himself in a tricky situation, but then again, I think, like, kind of stemming back to what I said earlier, we've got the supergroups, everyone wants to emerge, everyone wants to be, you know, make everyone happy all the time.
Yeah.
Why don't they just focus on what they're good at and get the people that are going to follow them in that section?
Yeah.
So I know you're not always going to please all of the Muslims, but you might have, you know, a strong Christian following this and the other. Just basically work out who your audience is, who you stand for, and then make those people happy.
Yeah.
They don't need to make everyone happy all the time.
Also, you're going to have, like, there's going to be like a big block, like it will be known as the Muslim vote, because the way they are, you know, they're a community, a tight-knit community, so they will all vote the same way, you'd think, wouldn't they? Their leaders would say, oh, we're going to vote this way, this benefits us.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you've got to court this whole big... It used to be like other sort of votes, they'd say that, wouldn't they? Like, are you going to... But now it's like, you know, like the Muslim vote is now, there's going to be this huge number of votes.
Yeah.
Like there's one voting in block, I think.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess as that block grows bigger, it's going to have more of an influence.
Yeah.
Do you think this might help Keir, though, in a way, because it's going to show sort of middle England that he's distanced himself from the Corbyn years?
Yeah, definitely. I just feel like if we were waving the British flag, it's like, it seems to be a problem, you know? Why can't we be patriotic nowadays? Like, why? I just, you know, this is our country. You come to our... it sounds terrible, but you come to our country, you know... And,
any country, yeah.
And, you know, I just...
Well, yeah, I wouldn't go to, you know, Saudi Arabia or go to, you know, Gaza and start waving the Scottish saltire, being like, yeah,
exactly, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
It makes me laugh, because I remember all the similar sort of people that go, oh, when the British go abroad, they're so disgusting. The first thing they do is they find an Irish bar, then they find someone that does an English fry-up. We do, though. But then it's like, oh, I love it when we get our culture, and it's just like, well, which is it? You take your culture with you or don't.
This is it.
OK, well, that's the first section out of the way. Coming up, we're going to assess the week's winners and losers in Cursed or Blessed. Under the microscope this week, a suspicious number of Boeing whistleblowers are dying before they can testify. Hollywood star Drew Barrymore's cringiest moment. And what's racist this week? This week, driving a train is racist. And we'll show you what happened next when this soldier took the bins out.
No, come on, wait to the no.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Prince Harry, remember him? He appears to have fully turned his back on the UK as he listed his primary residence as the United States for the very first time in papers published yesterday. So interestingly, Harry listed the date on the formal US residency forms as the 29th of June 2023, last year. So that was the very same day he was kicked out of Frogmore Cottage in Great Windsor Park by his dad, the King. Charlotte, thank you for joining me. Okay. Are we just putting two and two together here with the significance of this date? Because there were stories during the rounds today that Harry chose that date specifically because he was so hurt about being booted out of Frogmore by his dad.
Yeah, I mean, to me it feels like he's trolling his dad a bit, because he could have said that he's been a US resident since 2020 when he quit the UK and moved to the States, but instead he chose the exact day that his dad kicked him out of Frogmore. But the reason his dad kicked him out of Frogmore was because he'd slagged off Camilla in Spare. And, you know, and his dad, apparently it was a really difficult decision for Charles, because, of course, no dad wants to kick their son out of their home. But he went beyond the pale. So Charles took the difficult decision to say, look, Frogmore's been empty for years anyway. We've spent £2.4 million doing it up for you. And now you've, you know, insulted our family in your book, Spare. Why is he so hung up on Frogmore? Because this is the country he was desperate to get away from. This is a house he didn't particularly want to live in and, in fact, didn't live in.
Well, he was forced, by the way, to pay £2.5 million to fund the renovations after it all kicked off. I mean, would that have anything to do with...
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that sort of galvanised his anger towards the whole situation. He thought he was getting a fantastic freebie. And there was, you know, there were a few reports at the time that Meghan actually thought she was moving into Frogmore House, which is a much grander property. And she sort of felt a bit sort of tricked or confused and hadn't quite realised it was actually a cottage, which is only a mere, I think it was only a mere 8 bedrooms.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There'll be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And why it matters to you. From your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you. Good afternoon, Britain. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday Night Showdown. Kirster Bless is coming up, but first I promised I would show you what happened when that lady took the bins out.
No, come on, wait to the no, no, no. Come on, come on.
I mean, that doesn't inspire confidence, you know, regarding the power of Western military.
I don't know what she was trying to do.
Maybe she was just trying to go viral on TikTok.
Hold on, what woman
who was
takes
filming
the
it?
bins out for a start?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. You would never
You wanted
catch
equality, you've got
taking
it.
bins out.
Yeah, but this is the army. This is in the army, so you know. I think you got to. You can't be like, oh, I'm not going to take the bins out. I'm a lady. So, anyway, it's now time to go through the winners and losers of the week, and Kirster Blessed. First up, doesn't this look like fun?
For most, it's so much more rewarding than a boring old desk job.
Look at this office window. Fantastic.
Yeah, what could be better than getting behind the wheel of a train, hitting the open countryside, downing tools whenever there are leaves on the line, and laughing at the passengers when you eventually pull up at the platform 2 hours late? Unfortunately, a study has found out that this noble profession is dominated by white, middle-aged males. Oh, the horror. And this has been seized on as proof of systemic racism. But is it? Britain is still a pretty white country, and being a train driver takes many years of training and experience, so most drivers will be older, and this will reflect the demographics of when they started training, when Britain was even more white. And driving professions are probably dominated by men because part-time driving, which would favour women, is often blocked by the unions. You think there should be more female train drivers? I mean, no.
No, not at all.
But Francine, you don't even have to parallel park them.
Look, I would not feel comfortable with a 22-year-old male driving my train or a woman being a pilot on my aeroplane.
Really?
No, I may sound like I'm misogynist and ageist,
Deep dive.
but that is the truth. You know, I want somebody, if I'm on a train, I want to know his experience. He's been driving a long time. If anything was to, God forbid, happen, he has the knowledge to be able to cope. And I'm sorry, but I know I'm a woman driver, but I actually drive like a man. Most women drivers are useless. They are absolutely... So if I found out my pilot was a woman on a plane, I would be absolutely terrified.
What about as a compromise? As a compromise, you could have a trans woman, and then they've probably still got some of the skills.
Okay,
from...
yeah.
The thing is, they forget that when they put the dress on, though, don't they? We had all the driving skills, put on a dress, it's just gone. It's gone. Can't do it.
No, I was going to say, the thing for me is this is the most... I mean, if you did a poll of who has a train set in the loft, they are all middle-aged white men.
Yeah.
This is like this is their astronaut job. Can they not have anything? It looks like a rubbish job. Do you know what I mean? Like they're just middle-aged white virgins driving trains. Why have we got to get involved in it?
I don't know why they're shocked, right? So my dad worked for the Ordnance Survey his entire life, right? Maps. Absolutely loves maps. And he had this weird friend called David who was a train spotter. And we used to call him David the Weird Train Man, right? Full name.
It's quite a long nickname.
Yeah, David the Weird... I was David coming over, the Weird Train Man, right? And he was what... If someone said, draw a train spotter, you would draw him.
Yeah, he would be white.
He was a middle-aged white man with glasses.
And
so I don't know why people... And a cagoule. Yeah, he had the hat and everything.
Flask.
Binoculars, right? And people are shocked that this is the type of person that likes trains.
Yeah.
They go, well, of course they do. Why? Trains were essentially made for middle-aged white men.
DEI everything? Because you go, oh, do you know what? 100% of the Chinese takeaways in England are owned by Chinese people. Like, well, yeah, because why have we got to get involved in everything?
Yeah, actually, we need more white-owned Chinese takeaways.
Where do you draw the line?
Well, yeah, this is
there's no bar, stopping anyone applying to be a train driver. These blokes have played with trains their whole life. They probably know exactly how many valves are in the bit of the train that has valves in it. They know everything. They're just train people.
Yes. I don't even know what a valve is.
People.
And why does the push for equality only ever go one way? There's nobody saying, how do we get more, white middle-aged men into the Chinese takeaways?
I want more white middle-aged men on OnlyFans. I'm getting sick of it.
I've actually put in too many requests for that. They're not paying any attention.
Do you think there's one white middle-aged man on OnlyFans absolutely coining it in because he's the only one on there?
He can't drive a train. You have to do something.
Do I know?
OK, I'll sign up in the next break. Anyway, next up, we've got another Boeing whistleblower has died suddenly. Being a Boeing whistleblower seems to be more dangerous than doing a real estate deal with the Clintons. Joshua Dean, who was only 45 and reportedly healthy and active, developed pneumonia following a fast-moving infection. This was after he warned of manufacturing defects in the Boeing 737 MAX and filed a complaint with the Federal Aviation Administration alleging serious and gross misconduct by senior management. This is barely a month after another whistleblower, John Barnett, was found dead in a vehicle in a hotel car park with an apparently self-inflicted gunshot wound. He had been due to testify in a lawsuit against Boeing after discovering metal slivers next to wiring in the planes that could have caused catastrophic damage. Boeing has been in a tailspin recently with a series of incidents involving its planes, including 2 fatal crashes in 2018 and 2019, seeing a total of 346 people killed. And this year, Boeing was investigated after a door flew off an Alaska Airlines Boeing 737 MAX 9 mid-flight. 4 whistleblowers, including the 2 dead men, then came forward alleging that corners had been cut, and the company has reported a $355 million loss. Now, to paraphrase Oscar Wilde, to lose one whistleblower is a misfortune. To lose 2 looks like carelessness. Justin, I mean, obviously we can't speculate as to, the internet is going wild with conspiracies.
I don't know what they could possibly be saying. But the most important thing is I look at these 2 whistleblowers, you look at Epstein, David Kelly, JFK, white middle-aged men are overrepresented in getting bumped off by the Illuminati, isn't it? We need some more diversity.
We need more equality.
We're looking for equality in the nefarious murders of. I don't know if that is what it seems. It seems like a coincidence.
Yeah.
And it seems that if you're that low-level person, unless you've I think if somewhere there isn't a vault with some footage of you in Jeremy Epstein's back bedroom having a great time, they seem to not be like, oh, you've got to get rid of them because we haven't got any dirt to blackmail them with.
Yeah, yeah.
Like Julian Assange is alive, but I don't know. So you sort of think, if they're going to kill anyone, you think they'd kill him. But if no one knows who you are,
maybe it's too obvious.
Exactly. If no one knows who you are, they're like, oh yeah, he's pneumonia.
It's disturbing, isn't it?
It slightly makes me worried. Also, it makes me worried. I mean, the thing that I'm mostly worried about, because I'm never going to whistleblow in Boeing, so I know I'm safe. You know what I mean? I think I'm not.
But you are a white man, and they are the ones getting killed off.
I actually identify as a woman. But the thing that worries me is that Boeing have been cutting corners. The whistleblowers have been saying this, and obviously, planes need
proved right. That's the thing. The whistleblowers have been proved right, isn't it?
Yeah, the whistleblowers have been.
There's been incidents.
There's been incidents, and it's really affecting Boeing's profitability and the number of planes they're selling. Obviously, you'd rather buy an Airbus because it's not going to fall out the sky.
And what they're blowing the whistle on is the Church of DEI. I think that is the thing. It's so anti. Was it Soros and all? They're so anti what they're sort of trying to preach and sort of like not sneaking, but force on people. It's like. This is the new heresy. Yeah, you can blow the whistle on things, but not that.
Yeah, these companies are following DEI and pushing that aspect of things and taking their eye off the ball, taking their eye off the sort of their core business. And I mean, it's fine if you're making a Netflix show. Nobody's going to die if the hobbits are a different colour
or black or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. But when it comes to making aeroplanes, like if you get them wrong, people can actually die.
It is a pretty serious business.
Yeah, it should be like the interviewing process should be, are you good at making aeroplanes?
Yeah.
That's pretty much what they should be asking.
And are you a man? Because Francie's not employing you.
If
it was a woman...
I didn't want to say it, but...
Is it women doing it?
Really.
Get that off.
Listen, us women are good at many, many things, but driving...
and flying planes.
Plane, a train, a car... No.
Also, I think killing the whistleblower isn't a good sign. You know, like if a whistleblower's go out and then all of a sudden they die, that's not the company saying, well, clearly, you know, we weren't doing anything.
Although, of course, there's no suggestion that, you know, unless, you know, you go on the internet and see the wild speculation, there's no suggestion that that's what Boeing have done. It's just a...
Didn't the first guy, like, put a shotgun in his mouth in the car park after he... Wasn't it? He waited until he had his moment, and then it was just before or just after?
Before, yeah, it was
just before.
Pretty soon before he was going to testify.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it was, pretty strange timing. Anyway, next up is Hollywood superstar Drew Barrymore. She made her name in the film E.T., the story of an alien arriving on Earth, holing up in a kid's wardrobe and then helping him to take to the skies in a bicycle, which is more believable than the fact that Barrymore has now carved out a successful career as a talk show host. Things hit peak cringe this week when Vice President Kamala Harris turned up on the sofa. Let's have a look.
Been thinking that we really all need a tremendous hug in the world right now. Yeah. But in our country, we need you to be Mamala of the country.
Someone actually posted on Twitter that Drew is like someone with no coke talking to someone with all the coke at a party.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Francie, do you know what a mamala even is?
Well, I know what a momager is. I've never heard this term before, but I watched this and I found it so cringe, I have to say. I mean, a lot of these American hosts are a bit like this.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got to tell you, I used to love James Corden. I was a great admirer of his writing, his acting, but he's gone to America and he's become one of these cheesy American chat show host who has actually put a cringe costume on, in my opinion. But I just didn't understand why she was talking to Kamala Harris like she was the saviour.
Yeah.
You know, talking to her about being a stepmom and Disney.
I mean,
and also almost looking at her like she was the Messiah.
Yeah,
you know?
It's just how far we've dumbed down an infantilised culture that you've gone from Frost Nixon to
this.
Will you be my mummy? And it's like she looked at like she wanted to lock one out and start breastfeeding her. It's so cringy. It was awful.
She always wanted to sit on her lap and get
it was just so like, and it's just you look at politics now, and it's just like casting. It's like the casting the roles.
That's a great point, because politics is all about feelings and this gushing sort of...
It should be about manifesto and policy.
Exactly.
It's just, oh, we want a mummy.
Yeah.
But this is textbook, isn't it, of these hosts? And I do feel it was actually more cringe than watching Tom Cruise on Oprah jumping on the sofa saying he was in love. Do you remember that?
Well, that was tough for Tom Cruise, because he needed a box to actually climb up on the sofa. So
but it was
impressive.
really cringy. It really, really was.
And I say is that the level of political discourse? And on a side note, if we're going to judge American politicians like their fitness to run the country by their parenting, Joe Biden should be out of the Oval Office on a register, because he's showering with his daughter and stuff. And every time he's around a kid, he's like that bloke that went to the snooker last week. He's always like sniffing their hair and stuff.
And I mean, something clearly went wrong with Hunter. I mean, he's gone well.
He's not the best parent.
I mean, for somebody like I respect Hunter in a way. He's like, what is he, 54 or something now? And he's still living like he's Liam Gallagher in 1996.
You know, Keith Hunter. What do you expect to happen? Oh, he's going to be absolutely fine. Yeah. So level-headed, Hunter. Off you go. Into the wild.
Do you find this sort of deification of politicians a bit weird? Like, you know, the way Drew Barrymore was talking to Kamala.
Do you know, the thing about the person that's got the coke talking to the one that doesn't? I genuinely watched that and I was like, oh my God, she feels like the woman at the house party that's done too many mushrooms and wants to talk to you on the bathroom floor.
Yeah.
Do you know, and he goes, oh, let me tell you about some crystals. And, like, wants to, you know, read your horoscope and things like that. I'm like, you're Drew Barrymore talking to the Vice President of the United States.
It's also so reductive. It's reducing her to just this role of a mother. It's like, it's not even... It's sort of like... This politician, she's a career politician. It's like, oh, will you be our mummy? It's just so weird.
And it's so out of odds with what the rest of the country thinks. Kamala Harris has got even worse opinion poll ratings than Joe Biden. So, you know, to
But
pretend
it was just a person to person, and Drew Barrymore was from the Hollywood machine and so used to schmoozing.
Yeah,
and that muscle in her brain that is just schmaltzy and sentimental is like so overdeveloped.
Yeah.
They can just tap into it and just say the most saccharine, sickly thing and not know how it looks and feels. It's like,
Absolutely. And obviously when we're talking about coca mushrooms, we're talking about Coca-Cola and chestnut mushrooms. Anyway, next on the Saturday Night Showdown, it's Culture Corner. We'll ask whether square-jawed people have more right-wing views and if women would rather be stuck in a forest with a man or a bear. And never mind bears, I'll show you what happened when these dudes decided to get in the cage with some lions.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Over the next 24 hours or so, a bit of a north-south split with the weather cloudy and damp in the north, some clear spells leading to sunshine and showers in the south. So it's all thanks to low pressure dominating the weather pattern through the bank holiday weekend. This area of low pressure giving some longer spells of rain perhaps in the south on Monday, but through the rest of the evening and overnight, very slow changes with our weather. It stays cloudy across the northern half of the UK with outbreaks of rain. A few heavier bursts possible. Clearer south, generally dry. Some mist and fog patches forming under light winds. And then by the end of the night, this weather system moving into the southwest. And as we go through the day on Sunday, it just slowly pushes its way northwards, introducing some showery outbreaks of rain. Through the central swathe of the UK, it generally stays dry with some sunny spells. Cloudier further north. Drier though, but there will be a few heavy showers that develop, particularly across northeast Scotland. Temperatures generally in the range of 16 to 18, but locally 19 or 20 in the best of the sunshine. For Bank Holiday Monday, a bit of a mixed picture, some showery outbreaks of rain possible across southern counties of England. This trying to break up during the day into sunny spells and showers, and that's the forecast for many parts, sunshine and showers, temperatures lifting generally into the high teens once more. Tuesday into Wednesday, high pressure starts to build in, temperatures start to rise.
GB News is the home of free speech. We were created to champion it, and we deliver it day in, day out.
Free speech allows us all to explore and debate openly the issues most important to us, our families, and of course, the British people.
Having challenging conversations to enlighten each other.
Which is why we hear all sides of the argument.
We are the People's Channel.
We will always stand by the freedom to express yourself.
On TV, radio and online.
This is GB News,
Britain's news channel.
I'm Patrick Christie's. Every weeknight from 9, I bring you 2 hours of unmissable, explosive debate and headline-grabbing interviews. What impact has that had?
We got death threats and the bomb threat and so on.
Our job is to do what's in the best interest of our country.
You made my argument for me.
My guests and I tackle the issues that really matter, with a sharp take on every story.
I'm hearing it up and down the country.
That was a beginning, not an end.
Patrick Christie's tonight from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope.
And I'm Gloria Di Piero, bringing you
PMQ's live here on GB News.
Whenever Parliament is in session on a Wednesday at midday, we'll bring you live coverage of Prime Minister's questions. We'll be asking our viewers and listeners to submit the questions that they would like to put to the Prime Minister, and we'll put that to our panel of top politicians in our Westminster studio.
That's PMQ's live here on GB News, Britain's election channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday Night Showdown. Culture Corner is coming up, but first I promised I would show you what happened when those dudes were hanging around in the lion's den. It's fine. It's just he's just playing with them. I think if the lion was serious, I think the guy would be dead by now.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Siegfried and Roy.
Siegfried and Roy.
And so they were doing a magic show in Las Vegas, and they had these white Siberian tigers that they trained, and one of them just eventually was like, you know what, I'm bored.
I'm a bit peckish.
I'm bored of doing what these magicians tell me to do. And he turned around and just almost ate one of the guys. Like really seriously, much worse than that.
I mean, what were you thinking going into a lion's den? I just don't get it.
I like the way the lioness comes over, as if she's going, "He's not worth it, Gary. Leave him alone."
It's the lionesses you've got to watch out for, actually.
I mean, they are beautiful.
The men are just posturing, hold me back, and the women get playing for keeps.
They get the stiletto off.
Yeah, they do,
Go right in there. Anyway, it's time for Culture Corner, and we're going to start with the latest debate to sweep social media. People have been asking whether women would rather be stuck in a forest with a man or a bear. I mean, it's not really much of a debate, is it? But a few wacky outsiders have said they would prefer to be stuck with a man. But they were in a huge minority, as the vast majority of people said they would rather hang out with an animal that's quite likely to kill and eat them than a member of the opposite sex who might help them to find food and shelter. Now, Francine, I've got to ask you, have you seen this question going round?
I have. I saw it on TikTok.
And would you rather be stuck in the forest with a man or a bear?
Well, I think anyone who says a bear is a barefaced liar. I mean, come on, you know. You know what, missus? If I had the choice of being in the forest with my Aussie or a bear, I would choose the bear.
You would rather have a bear drive a train than a woman, though.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, you could be eaten by the bear. So what's the worst thing that could happen with a man? OK, he could kill you.
He could eat you. Could be Jeffrey Dahmer.
It's up to it. On the upside, you could fall in love. You could, you know, he could communicate with you at least.
You sound like you've never seen a Disney film.
Yeah. I think this poll is how many people...
It's crazy.
Like, what percentage of women don't know what a bear is? I think, like, people think, I think they've just... Did they poll people coming out and watching Paddington 2 or something? Have you seen The Grizzly Man?
Yeah,
There was a guy that lived amongst bears and he gave them names like Mr. Chocolate.
Yeah, and he really sort of anthropomorphised them.
Just one day just ate him and his girlfriend.
Yeah, got hungry because he's a bear.
The bear's heart rate wouldn't have even gone up.
Yeah.
They're just like I saw some people saying, men mansplaining why women are wrong if they pick a bear. It's like, no, it's not mansplaining to explain probability.
Yeah.
That's literally all it is, isn't it? You're more likely to live.
It's literally probability. So when you look at the statistics and you go, right, 98% of sexual offences were committed by men does not mean 98% of men commit sexual offences.
Yeah.
But 100% of bears will eat you.
And you can't outrun a bear. 100% you can't outrun a bear.
You're a lot safer with a man, but also, which man? Because, I mean, there is a few men on the planet that I'll go, do you know what, I'll take the bet, babes.
Yeah, but then, I mean, if it was somebody like Bear Grylls...
Yeah,
you'd rather be there with Bear Grylls.
Strong man.
Anyway, next we've got some interesting research from our old friends at Stanford University. They say that political beliefs can be determined based on inherent facial characteristics and artificial intelligence. Apparently AI can pick up on them. This has all led to the finding that people with square jaws are more likely to vote for right-wing candidates, while people with a more slender look lean towards the left. Now, square jaws tend to reflect increased testosterone, which leads people to become stronger, more assertive and more self-sufficient. All of these are right-wing traits, as opposed to those feeble, chinless, girly men who can only achieve anything by leeching off society. So, socialists. Sadly, testosterone levels are dropping in the West, mainly due to obesity and inactivity. I'm not suggesting the government's putting anything in the water. So it looks as if we're heading for communism. I mean, Elle, does this worry you? The fact that testosterone levels are dropping means we're doomed to an eternity of left-wing politicians.
I mean, it's a bit of a catch-22 situation, isn't it? Like, we don't want too much testosterone, but also I do want a man that can put a shelf up.
And fight a bear.
And fight a bear, because I did choose the man, as we've just learned.
Yeah.
But I'm also trying to work out, does that mean that I am more likely to vote right-wing? Because I think I've got quite a strong jaw.
You have?
Yeah. So I think maybe I've got enough testosterone.
Yeah.
It's all in my jaw. I think Justin's right-wing is... Yeah.
Hang on.
I go, what would the jaw do? What would the jaw do?
Yeah, but if you look at Hitler had a very diminished little chin, so there's always outliers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also Keir Starmer's got quite a jaw on him, hasn't he?
He does. Maybe that'll save us. Maybe he's going to be a masculine...
Let's just talk about
jaws
jaws
sheep's clothing, an infiltrator.
This is absolute bonkers, though, isn't it? I mean, the big thing's going to be if you've got a certain nose.
Yeah.
You know, you might be...
I'm not going to touch that. I was going to say something.
Absolutely crazy. You can change the shape of your nose. Do you know know what I mean? People are changing their jaw shape.
Yeah, that's true. Zac Efron's done it, hasn't he?
Lots of people, most women put filler in their jaw to make it so, I mean...
But there's, like you said in the bit you just read, Leo, it is true that, well, I think, like, you know, men have the gap, the little line here. That's because when you're in the womb, apparently, your jaw grows out and fuses together. Right. And testosterone makes it grow quicker, so it doesn't have time to match up.
Right.
That's why that's a masculine... So it is... So a guy with a... Is it a cleft chin, or what do you call it?
Yeah,
like,
cleft chin.
Yeah, cleft chin. They would be super testosterone, and it does make you aggressive, more competitive, and an aggressive... Well, competitive, let's say. A competitive person is going to want a free market rather than... Because they're going to thrive in it.
Because they can succeed in it.
Yeah, that's
they can be
just your wheelhouse, yeah.
Anyway, next on the Saturday Night Showdown, we go through some of the craziest videos of the week, with a TikTok prankster getting arrested by armed police, football medics who are too fat, and we'll show you what protesters would be like as animals. And speaking of funny videos, I'll show you what happened when Ollie Alexander really got into his swing.
You make me dizzy from your kisses.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 p.m.
So J. Cole, who is a rapper, says he felt terrible after releasing a song aimed at fellow rapper Kendrick Lamar and vowed to pull the track off streaming services. He said, "I ain't gonna lie to y'all. The past 2 days felt terrible," he told an audience at the Dreamville Festival in North Carolina. "I damn near had a relapse," he said.
There's a lot of young people, especially, you know, that would look at that and they will take it not just as entertainment.
It doesn't happen in any other form of art that I can think of. This is not happening in country music, is it?
Well, it's the same. It's the same problem in both cases, isn't it? Who's doing the regulating? And surely it's each case on its merits, isn't it? You don't just ban a genre.
Why is there such a lot of hatred for a man who usually would have trash talked back? To stand up and say, you know, this doesn't sit well with me and I love this guy. If we look at, I think his name was Cody Fisher, the semi-professional footballer who died in a club because someone stabbed him. Now, he was stabbed because he stepped on someone's trainers. This is the level of ego we're seeing from a lot of young men who don't have any output of being able to channel that energy, and a lot of it is stemming from cultures like football, hip-hop, these sorts of things. So I'm just saying it's refreshing to see a man who could have easily wiped the floor with his lyrics say, I don't have to, you know?
That is interesting, isn't it? Because I took this interview in the wrong direction. It's not about pointing out the areas of concern. Actually, this story is saying, look, music and art can be giving you an example of how to live a slightly better life.
That's free speech. Saying, sorry. I'm sorry, I choose not to fight back because I love you. It may look like a wimpy thing to do, but it's still free speech.
You know what? I love you, Paul. Sorry about earlier.
We're GB News, and we come from a proud tradition of British journalism.
That's why I'm so excited to be here. It's something so new.
The first news channel to be launched in Britain in over 30 years.
Launched to represent the views of the British people. To go where other broadcasters refuse to go.
How did you find out about the story in the first place?
Launched with one aim.
To be the fearless champion of Britain.
It's an absolutely fantastic atmosphere here.
This is GB News.
GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday Night Showdown. Clown World is coming up, but first I promised I would show you what happened when Eurovision song entrant Ollie Alexander really got into his stride.
You make me dizzy from your kisses. Will you take my hand and spinning round and round until the moment never ends? Make me dizzy from...
Is that even in tune?
No.
Is that going to win the Eurovision?
Definitely
That's what
not.
offended me the most.
Definitely
It was the
not.
singing.
Unless this, you know,
I don't care about the bra.
that was that was not in the scale that I know.
The bra
That
was great. I love the bra.
The essentially an orgy going on behind him,
He
but
did like me
it was
on
the singing.
karaoke.
That was like.
Can you do his voice?
Thinking I can really sing.
Anyway, it's time for Clown World, and some genius on the internet has come up with the idea of matching the shrill calls of protesters with some sounds from the animal world. This is high art. Take a look.
Where is your gun now? You need a gun because you're weak. You need a bullet because your voice is small.
Talking of declining testosterone, I think we've got some examples of it there. I've been watching the videos of the student protests in America right now, and one of them, because the frat bros have come out to sort of counter-protest against the anti-Israel protesters, and one of them was videoed offering $100 to any one of the anti-Israel protesters that could do one push-up. It's hilarious.
That's just Orwell's Animal Farm, isn't it?
Yeah, literally.
It's like, then I just see him all like, who are you shouting at? Why are you protesting in an American campus?
Yeah.
Get on a plane.
You never know what they're yelling about.
I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like, when it came down to the animals made that bearable, but I felt like I understood the animals more.
Yeah, me too.
They're just shouting into the void. Going for it. But then, you know, the goat comes on and I'm like, I feel you.
Anyway, next up, we've got the TikTok prankster who tried to film a supposedly harmless prank on the King's Guard's horses and ended up in handcuffs. Let's take a look at this.
I don't know his name.
I feel like Mizzy has got a lot to answer for. You know, there's this trend of TikTokers going. I don't know. TikTok seems to make people feel invulnerable. It's
Yes,
like
exactly. I've seen people doing. I see someone do a selfie with a dangerous animal and it sort of like nobbled them. But I just think this is so. I just saw pranks and I thought they've got my name wrong. It happens all the time. I was about to have a hissy fit.
We would do anything for the views on a TikTok video.
Yeah.
Clearly.
No, but it is that sort of like, because you're looking at it for a fit. And I just think it's such a hack thing. We know that they stand there and they don't react. And people have been doing it since the 60s, 70s. It's like. Well, every generation's like, oh, do you know you can go up to them and do anything? And I'm not really like that sort of like an official, but I like to see them get their comeuppance. There's something so satisfying when all of a sudden they're like, oh, no.
Yeah,
when you see that turn, I love it.
And it's it's not the ones, they don't get off the horse. There's other ones who come in with, like, you know, machine guns and stuff. And
they storm through, you know, and they've got their, this is where I'm walking, don't stand in my way, I'm going to storm through. And then people go, oh, I can't believe that they ran me over. It's like, yeah, but they're doing a job at the end of the day. Just let the person do a job.
And what other country could you go up to, you know, an official royal guard and mug them off?
Only in Britain is touching the horse more offensive to people. You can do what you want to the bloke, you touch that horse and you are just fair game.
Next, let's take a look at some crack football paramedics in action. I mean, doesn't that just show? I know we're living in an era of fat acceptance, but doesn't that just show that sometimes you've got to be able to cover a certain amount of distance quite quickly?
Can't even run across half a foot. That was like Chief Wiggum off The Simpsons, isn't it? Like, so what, they had to come in and like help them out like a relay?
Yeah. And then take their stuff, but then the people carrying the stuff don't know how to use the stuff. They're putting the stethoscope in the wrong way round.
In that? Come back!
But maybe it's the theory of, like, they're never going to have to do anything. You know when you watch the Olympic swimming and there's a lifeguard sat there and you go, that person is not doing absolutely anything. Because you could put anyone in that seat as a lifeguard at the Olympics.
Not them, you couldn't.
I'm not jumping as well, but that's what they've done. They've got anyone could do that job because you're never going to have to do it. And then it actually happens and they go, oh no.
What am I going to do?
I've actually got to do it now.
And luckily they are on a football pitch, so there are people who are good at running right there.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like I don't know. Like I said, DI, whatever it is, it's just like it's getting to this ridiculous thing where you don't even have to be fit for purpose.
Yeah,
we can have
literally.
Yeah, you can have roofers of like vertigo and stuff.
Right. Up next is Mark Dolan tonight. What have you got for us this evening, Mark?
Well, Leo, a growing scandal at the BBC based around discrimination. Why Prince Harry deserves a hero's welcome when he comes back to the UK next week. Plus, they did well on Thursday in the local elections, but Labour are not going to form an overall majority. I'll get reaction from Edwina Curry.
Amazing. Sounds brilliant, Mark. Well, thanks to my brilliant panel tonight. I hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you again next week. And don't forget, headliners as well tonight at 11 p.m. That is 3 comedians going through the next day's newspapers. See you next week. Good show.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast. Over the next 24 hours or so, a bit of a north-south split with the weather cloudy and damp in the north, some clear spells leading to sunshine and showers in the south. So it's all thanks to low pressure dominating the weather pattern through the bank holiday weekend. This area of low pressure giving some longer spells of rain perhaps in the south on Monday, but through the rest of the evening and overnight, very slow changes with our weather. It stays cloudy across the northern half of the UK with outbreaks of rain. A few heavier bursts possible. Clearer south, generally dry, some mist and fog patches forming under light winds, and then by the end of the night this weather system moving into the southwest, and as we go through the day on Sunday it just slowly pushes its way northwards, introducing some showery outbreaks of rain. Through the central swathe of the UK it generally stays dry with some sunny spells, cloudier further north. Drier though, but there will be a few heavy showers that develop, particularly across north-east Scotland. Temperatures generally in the range of 16 to 18, but locally 19 or 20 in the best of the sunshine. For bank holiday Monday, a bit of a mixed picture, some showery outbreaks of rain possible across southern counties of England. This trying to break up during the day into sunny spells and showers, and that's the forecast for many parts, sunshine and showers, temperatures lifting generally into the high teens once more. Tuesday into Wednesday, high pressure starts to build in, temperatures start to rise.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the biggest cash prize we've given away to date. An incredible £20,000 that you could use however you like. And because it's totally tax-free, every single penny will be in your bank account to do whatever you like with. £20,000 in tax-free cash really could be yours this summer. But you've got to be in it to win it. For another chance to win £20,000 in tax-free cash, text PRIZE to 63232. Text costs £2 plus one standard network rate message. Or post your name and number to GB05 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 5 p.m. on the 31st of May. Full terms and privacy notice at gbnews.com/win. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Weekdays from midday, we bring you the most compelling stories from across the United Kingdom.
And why it matters to you. From your doorstep to our inbox.
That's right, we want to hear from you. Good afternoon, Britain. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. 2024, a battleground year.
The year the nation decides.
As the parties gear up their campaigns for the next general election.
Who will be left standing when the British people make one of the biggest decisions of their lives?
Who will rise?
And who will fall?
Let's find out together.
For every moment, the highs, the lows, the twists and turns.
We'll be with you for every step of this journey.
In 2024, GB News is Britain's election channel. Join me, Camilla Tominey, every Sunday at 9:30 when I'll be interviewing the key players in British politics and taking them to task.
This report basically says that he's not fit to stand trial.
With an upcoming election looming over Westminster, now is the time for clear, honest answers.
I agree.
And that's precisely what I'll get.
Is he indecisive?
Incompetent? That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's election channel.
GB News is the home of free speech. We were created to champion it, and we deliver it day in, day out.
Free speech allows us all to explore and debate openly the issues most important to us, our families, and of course, the British people.
Having challenging conversations to enlighten each other.
Which is why we hear all sides of the argument.
We are the People's Channel.
We will always stand by the freedom to express yourself.
On TV, radio and online.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Martin Daubney. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's 9 o'clock on television, on radio and online in the United Kingdom and across the world. This is Mark Dolan Tonight. In my big opinion, allegations of discrimination and divisive box ticking at the BBC. Our national state broadcaster may even be breaking the law. Find out more about this shocking scandal in just a moment. In the big story, new polls suggest that Sir Keir Starmer will fail to win an overall majority at the next election. Could the Tories achieve the unthinkable, drag themselves out of the gutter and snatch victory from the jaws of defeat? I'll be speaking to someone who's been where the Tories are and done it before. Now, what do you imagine a Green Party election victory looks like? Hippie types, a message about recycling, something about carbon emissions? Not so much. Take a look at this.
We will not be silent. We will raise the voice of Gaza. We will raise the voice of Palestine. Allahu Akbar!
Come back, Caroline Lucas, all is forgiven. Meanwhile, in my take at 10, Prince Harry returns to Britain next week. This will surprise you, but I think he should have a hero's welcome. Find out why at 10. So 2 hours of big opinion, big debate and big entertainment. I'll be dealing with the BBC in 2 minutes' time. You will not believe the alleged discrimination that's happening. But first, news headlines and some breaking news with Sam Francis.
Mark, thank you very much and good evening to you from the newsroom. It's 9 o'clock and as Mark said, we start with some breaking news in the England local elections. There has been a surprise upset tonight in the last few minutes for the Conservative Party in the West Midlands, with Labour's Richard Parker beating Conservative Andy Street to become mayor there. Labour had declared it was confident of a narrow win ahead of the vote's official announcement, but in the very last few minutes, that has now been confirmed. If you're watching on TV, you can see here the scenes live where Andy Street is now giving his statement. We have just also heard from the mayor of the Labour Party, Richard Parker. He had been giving his victory speech after, as I say, beating Conservative Andy Street by 1,508 votes to now become mayor of the West Midlands. Well, the Conservative loss there is a double blow for the Prime Minister after earlier today Labour's Sadiq Khan secured a historic third term as Mayor of London. This, though, was the moment that he was heckled and booed as he started his acceptance speech.
Thank you, London. Khan killed London! Khan killed London!
Well, Sadiq Khan beat his nearest rival, Conservative candidate Susan Hall, in a contest full of criticism over his decision to expand the capital's ultra-low emission zone. However, Mr Khan insisted he is keeping positive.
Who inspire me every day to continue our mission of building a fairer, safer and greener London. And in what I hope will be a year of great change, a future Labour government led by Keir Starmer working with us in City Hall will mean we can go much further and accomplish so much more.
And Labour's also been celebrating success in Liverpool, in South Yorkshire and in West Yorkshire today, and in Greater Manchester, where Andy Burnham was re-elected. He picked up just over 63% of the vote there and said he'll always give his best to the job.
I'm overwhelmed to have so many people prepared
to put their trust in me is overwhelming. It's humbling, and I recognise that people who vote for other parties at a general election have lent me their support. And it's why I will be very, very rigid in taking a place first rather than a party first approach. It seems to me that's what the role of the mayor is all about, bringing people together, get everybody pulling in the same direction for a great city region like this one. And that's what I will be doing.
Well, let's take a quick look at the results in those local elections across England as they stand now at 9 o'clock tonight. Labour gaining control of 8 councils, up to a total of 50. The Liberal Democrats have also won more council seats overall than the Conservative Party. And as we were just mentioning, results from the West Midlands, where Labour have also secured victory for that mayoral seat. In other news, the family of Daniel Angerin say they are devastated after he was killed walking to school in London on Tuesday. The 14-year-old, who's been described as loving and precious, was attacked by a man with a sword in Hainault. 4 other people, including 2 police officers, were also injured. Marcus Monzo, a Spanish-Brazilian dual national, was charged with murdering the teenager, and he appeared at Westminster Magistrates' Court on Thursday. We've heard tonight that more than 20 dogs have been seized after police raided a suspected illegal XL bully breeding farm in Sheffield. 16 of the animals are being looked after now in police kennels after they were discovered in what officers described as appalling conditions. 6 other dogs were sadly so unwell that they did have to be put to sleep. The breed was added to a banned list in October last year following a series of attacks. However, campaigners have argued that ban is unlawful. And tens of thousands of homes in East Sussex tonight are still without water and could be until at least tomorrow after a pipe burst. Southern Water says the disruption in St Leonards-on-Sea and Hastings started on Thursday. The firm, though, insists it is working tirelessly, they say, to get supplies back to properties. But residents in response say it's been disastrous. Schools, a leisure centre and a theatre have been closed. Those are the headlines. Plenty more still to come with Mark this evening. Until then, you can sign up to GB News Alerts. Just scan the code on your screen or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thanks, Sam. Welcome to a busy Mark Dolan tonight. In the big story, shock new polls suggest that Sir Keir Starmer will fail to win an overall majority at the next election. So could the Tories achieve the unthinkable, drag themselves out of the gutter and snatch victory from the jaws of defeat? I'll be speaking to someone who's been where the Tories are and done it before. What does it take to become a winner? I'll be asking tonight's Mark Meets guest, Olympic sprinting legend Ewan Thomas, who also reveals how he nearly lost his first baby son to a devastating infection. He tells his extraordinary story before the end of the hour. Now, what do you imagine a Green Party election victory looks like? Hippie types? A message about recycling or carbon emissions? No, it's this.
We will not be silent. We will raise the voice of Gaza. We will raise the voice of Palestine. Allahu Akbar!
That's the Green Party. Is Britain now in the grip of political extremism? I'll get reaction from tonight's top pundits. And in my take at 10, Prince Harry returns to the UK next week. This will surprise you, but I think he should have a hero's welcome. Find out why at 10. Reacting to the big stories of the day, my top pundits Diana Moran, Nina Mishkov and Benedict Spence. Plus, the most important part of the show, your views. They come straight to my laptop, gbnews.com/your say. And this show has a golden rule. We don't do boring. Not on my watch. I just won't have it. A big 2 hours to come. Mark Dolan tonight is your perfect Saturday night in. Let's start with my big opinion. In shocking news that will surprise no one, a BBC trainee journalism scheme stands accused of discrimination, with white Brits making up just a third of places, even though this cohort represents 3/4 of the population. And in a further development that MPs have described as concerning, the Daily Telegraph revealed that nearly 75% of places on the course were taken by women, even though, and you don't need me to tell tell you this. The population is split roughly 50-50. Now, I'm a great believer in diversity. It's critically important to represent our rich, vibrant and diverse society. And historically underrepresented voices and talents must come to the fore in the media and in the boardroom. But this policy has been called out as something quite different. Positive discrimination, which is in fact unlawful under the Equality Act of 2010. It's an outrage that our national broadcaster, funded to the tune of billions by hard-working Brits, should be discriminating against anyone. Whilst the BBC's output and staffing should be diverse, right now the message is clear: don't be a white bloke. How is that progress? Dr. Rakib Ehsan, an expert on social integration and part of the multi-ethnic pressure group Don't Divide Us, says that white Britons being woefully underrepresented in the BBC's flagship journalism training scheme is no surprise. He said, under the mantra of diversity, more and more young and aspirational white working class people in the regions will be left by the wayside. The bottom line is that discrimination is wrong, whatever your skin colour. And diversity, which remains a critically important principle, has become an ideology which often has the opposite effect. Your funding for a PhD shouldn't be based upon your ethnic background. Your place on a BBC journalism course shouldn't be based on skin colour. Your employment in a public or private sector job should not be based on your gender identity, your sexual orientation, or your religion. Who bloody cares? This box-ticking works against merit and is therefore patronising to minority groups, and works strongly against Martin Luther King's dream of a colourblind society. The BBC is sailing very close to the wind legally, and that is a national scandal. But it's endemic in the media, in the public sector, and in our corporations. The brilliant actor John Nettles, remember him? He played Bergerac in the hit BBC series in the 1980s, said this weekend that when that programme was originally made, actors were employed on the show for their talent. It wasn't about inclusivity. The public are sick of this, of course. Talented Brits of all backgrounds don't want positive discrimination. They don't want equality of outcome. They want equality of opportunity and the lifting of barriers, not more barriers, and the ideology of two wrongs making a right. The pushback on this divisive nonsense is strong. Here is the very popular US comedian Jerry Seinfeld dealing with an interviewer who complained that there were too many white men on his show. Well, Jerry Seinfeld's response is delicious.
I have noticed that most of the guests are mostly white males. Of 22 episodes that you've had.
Yeah, let's get into that.
No, but you...
Take a look over here, Peter. What do you see? A lot of whiteys. What's going on here? Oh, this really pisses me off. But go ahead. Really pisses me off. People think it's the census or something. I mean, this has got to represent the actual pie chart of America. Who cares? It's just funny. You know, funny is the world that I live in. You're funny, I'm interested. You're not funny, I'm not interested. Okay. And I have no interest in gender or race or anything like that, but everyone else is kind of with their little calculating, is this the exact right mix? You know, I think that's, to me, it's anti-comedy.
What a hero. I love these figures who speak out. And promoting his new Netflix comedy film this week, Seinfeld is once again in the news with this rant about political correctness destroying comedy. Of course he's right.
Nothing really affects comedy. People always need it. They need it so badly, and they don't get it. It used to be you would go home at the end of the day, most people would go, oh, Cheers is on, oh, MASH is on, oh, Mary Tyler Moore is on, All in the Family's on. You just expected, there'll be some funny stuff we can watch on TV tonight. Well, guess what? Where is it? This is the result of the extreme left and PC crap and people worrying so much about offending other people.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant stuff. In the end, talent in this country and around the world is spread equally across all backgrounds, races, religions and cultures, which is why opportunity must be equal too. Which is why the so-called DEI policies, diversity, equity and inclusion, are so wrong. Nobody should be discriminated against for their skin colour. They should be discriminated against for being a weak candidate. And positive discrimination should only be deployed for the people best suited to do the job. Do you really want the brain surgeon that's operating on your cerebral cortex being a diversity hire? Do you want the airline pilot transporting you at 36,000 feet to be the product of box ticking rather than ability, qualifications and experience? I think I know the answer. In the end, diversity policies are not diverse and inclusivity seeks to exclude. The BBC is there to bring our nation together and to deploy all of its talents. But right now, it's fast becoming the weakest link. Your reaction, gbnews.com/your say. I'll get to your messages shortly, but first, tonight's top pundits. I'm delighted to have broadcaster and author Nina Mishkov, model, TV personality and legend Diana Moran, and the brilliant political commentator and journalist Benedict Spence. Great to see all three of you here. Diana Moran, your reaction to this box-ticking exercise at the BBC?
It's just dreadful. I mean, at the end of the day, the basic thing is talent. You've either got talent or you haven't got talent. Doesn't matter what colour you are, what age you are, either. It's the talent that really matters, and this really makes me cross. Diversity, equality and inclusion. It isn't, is it?
It isn't. I mean, that's my issue, Benedict, is that diversity increasingly is not diverse. Inclusivity seeks to exclude.
One of the, I suppose I'd have a little bit more sympathy with what the BBC is doing is if it was protecting one of the things it used to do very well, which was its foreign services, its foreign language services, was providing information to people around the world who couldn't necessarily rely on the state media that they had to consume. From that perspective, I'd entirely understand if they were trying to appeal to and hire a broad range of journalists from different ethnic backgrounds who perhaps spoke different languages, had better understandings of local cultures, but that's not what they're doing. They're actively cutting back on those services, to which you then have to sort of ask rather, well, what exactly is all of this for? Is it to just sort of make yourself feel better? If actually you're not diversifying your output and the quality of that, and you're not trying to appeal to as many audiences, and I hate the expression soft power, but the BBC was one of the very few examples that I think you could say was a good example of British soft power. If you're not actually leaning into that, what's the point of this diversity other than to make the higher-ups feel good? OK, Nina, what do you think about this story?
Well, of course, talent is the most important thing. And firstly, we don't know that these people might be the most talented. We absolutely do not know that. And if you're also complaining about the percentage of women involved, well, frankly, welcome to our world as women. For centuries, literally centuries, we have been discriminated against in the workplace. It's only the last couple of decades that things are balancing out, and it's still not balanced yet. The world is run by middle-aged white men, basically.
But the bottom line is that Britain is populated by a lot of middle-aged white men. I mean, this is what's forgotten in these diversity policies, is that 75% of the population is non-ethnic.
Yes, but there's a very nuanced, slanted report in The Telegraph. What we're talking about is not the entire BBC training scheme. This is a course where there have only been 39 people on it, so it's a tiny percentage. It's also, what it doesn't actually point up, but I've got the figures here, it says that if we're talking about skin colour, it says that individuals from British, Asian, minority and ethnic backgrounds made up 41%, but a further 23% were classed as other white. And so, you know, this could be Australian, New Zealand, American, Canadian, Irish. Well, the way they write it, though, is very inflammatory. It says Roma, white gypsy, Irish traveller, white Irish and white Polish. Now, if that's not discriminatory on the part of the BBC, of the Telegraph, I don't know what is. And I